Hi, this is video number 210, Withdrawal Warriors Worldwide, a fellowship. Purpose and identity. 1. We are an international fellowship of individuals who have chosen to discontinue the use of prescribed psychotropic drugs. 2. Our sole purpose is to support one another, both individually and collectively, as we each travel the road to freedom from the use of prescribed psychotropic drugs and their adverse effects, both while we are taking the drugs and as we withdraw from them. 3. For the purposes of this fellowship, we are not licensed medical doctors, therapists, counselors, psychologists, or licensed in any other medical occupation or profession. Nor do we claim to be licensed medical staff with respect to this fellowship. 4. We do not offer medical advice. As such, it is important for each member of this fellowship to be in contact with appropriate medical staff as he or she undertakes the endeavor to discontinue the use of prescribed psychotropic drugs. 5. This fellowship has no opinion concerning the current general practice of prescribing psychotropic drugs or any other social issues. 6. All opinions and information offered in this fellowship will be based on existing, generally accepted information in the literature, personal observation, and personal experience. 7. There are no dues, fees, or any other financial aspect related to this fellowship. Pillars and Truths. 1. Our journey from the discontinuation of prescribed psychotropic drugs through withdrawal to a place of wellness is a process. 2. We are all different. No one else can feel what you feel. Each person goes through and experiences the process in a manner that is unique to him or her. No two individuals experience the process in exactly the same way. We will each have a different story to share when we reach wellness. We will each have different symptoms with different intensities. We will each notice improvement in different ways and at different times. We will each have our own time frame for healing. 3. There is no perfect way to taper from psychotropic drugs. However, under no circumstances is it wise to cold turkey from psychotropic drugs. 4. The brain is continually trying to heal in its own unique way during withdrawal from psychotropic drugs, even though there are times when it feels like no healing is occurring. 5. Even though the myriad of strange, intense symptoms during the withdrawal causes us to feel or believe we have developed a mental disorder, we have not. 6. Often the symptoms of withdrawal lead us to fear that we have developed some other empirically diagnosable condition. In such cases, it is best to be checked by a doctor, if only to provide us peace of mind. 7. Currently, the passing of time is the only known way to effect healing from psychotropic drugs, although there is hope that a quicker way to healing will be discovered in the future. As such, withdrawal is a matter of surviving until wellness is reached. Anything that helps us to pass time is beneficial. 8. Acceptance that we are in withdrawal and that it will take time is necessary in reaching wellness. Blaming ourselves or others for our current predicament does no good and is counterproductive. It is what it is and it will get better. 9. It is absolutely necessary for us to keep hope alive during the withdrawal process. We need to reach out to anything or anyone to maintain hope. 10. It is important for us to seek positive, hopeful input from wherever we can find it. Places of negativity and confrontation of any sort should be avoided. 11. We must be careful of what we read and believe. It is important to realize that nearly everyone in the withdrawal forums and Facebook groups is also in withdrawal. They also are afraid and have cognitive issues. For this reason, harmful misinformation and fear abound. In withdrawal, the power of suggestion is enormous. 12. All of the bizarre, painful, fearful thoughts and feelings we have in withdrawal are distortions caused by the withdrawal itself and have no place in reality. Okay, the promises. These promises are primarily from Alcoholics Anonymous, pages 83 and 84, with slight modification. 1. If we painstakingly adhere to these pillars and truths, we will each make it to the place of wellness and will be amazed when we get there. 2. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. 3. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. 4. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. 5. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. 6. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. 7. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. 8. Self-seeking will slip away. 9. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. 10. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. 11. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. 12. We will realize that God has done for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They will always materialize as we reach wellness. Okay. I did this video a little bit earlier. My sound for some reason was not on the microphone, so it was 30 minutes of silence. So anyway, it's later in the afternoon now than it was when I did this first time. Our son was here this afternoon for a while. He usually comes on Sunday afternoon. We talked about the regular stuff, and then there was some very heavy stuff, that something he's involved in that he was involved in 3 years ago, and then 3 years passed and it was okay, and now it's kind of come up again, has to do with the relationship. And I think he was just looking to tell us, like to at least share it with someone. I don't know that he got any wisdom from us, but anyway, he was here, and he's gone now. Today at church, this was interesting. We sang this song. It's called the Revelation Song. It's a very, very cool song, cool words. But it reminded me of when I was in withdrawal. So when I was in withdrawal, I did go to church most Sundays, even though I was in terror most of the time and I was depressed. And we sang that song a lot, or they sang it and I listened. And it would loop in my mind during the week. Like when I wasn't in church, it was one of those songs. It was probably the song that looped most in my brain. And I would walk back and forth from this room, across the hallway to the bedroom, over on the other side of the house here. And the song would just be constantly, for hour after hour, just looping into my head. And the words, I knew what the words meant, and they were cool words and good words, but I knew the truth of them, but I couldn't feel the joy that I should have felt, And today we sang it. We sang that song today, and now I can feel that joy. So I just wanted to that song always reminds me of withdrawal, because that was the big song that looped in my head during the week a lot of times. Now I feel the joy. Then I couldn't, but and I'm sure you're familiar with like looping songs and that. Interestingly, in my withdrawal, I did get to a point where I could actually change the song. I could change it to another song, and then that song would loop in my head until I changed it back. But the Revelation song was the one that happened most. That one looped more than any other song. I have 4 emails here. I'll go through them. The 4th one is a positive one, so I'll save it for last. Hi, Dawn. I'm having a really tough day, looking for any kind of reassurance. I am needing to go back to work because I'm the provider and have been out for 8 months, 3 of those without any disability or insurance. We are having to sell our home, so I'm afraid. I'm 15 months out. I do some form of exercise every day. It helps only a short period. The terrible restlessness and agitation is crippling. Okay, the questions here. 1, did you notice when you started to exercise more that your healing was expedited? 2, do you know for sure that one can heal while taking gabapentin, since it's a GABA analog? 3, okay, there's a continuation of this one. Do you know people who have healed while taking gabapentin? I'm currently down to 300 milligrams and have been there for a while. I'm holding but afraid the gabapentin may be part of the problem. 3, my hormones just can't stay level. I'm hypothyroid and I'm strangely turning hyperthyroid throughout this. I have had to decrease my dose by 1/3 over the months. My estrogen and testosterone are all over the place. I can't get level. I know withdrawal affects the HPA axis, but why isn't this improving? I'm losing hope. I don't want to die, but I can't keep living like this. Thank you so much for any reassurance. Okay. Go back to the first part here. Okay, 15 months out. It's not unusual to still be having trouble at 15 months. Okay, the exercise. My exercise during 2 years of my withdrawal was primarily walking, pacing and walking. That was my outside walking was usually the 66-minute walk that I've talked about before. I don't know that it helped me to expedite my healing at all, but it did help me to pass time. And as time passes, you are healing, that's for sure. I noticed that exercise, like I couldn't do regular exercise. Walking was my exercise. Upper body exercise I could not do for 2 years. I loved exercise, but I just couldn't do it. Okay. Do you know for sure that one can heal while taking gabapentin, since it's a GABA analog? GABA analogs are not GABA, okay? A GABA analog has a structure, a chemical structure that's very similar to GABA, but it's not GABA. It does not, I don't think, there are 3 major GABA analogs that people take in withdrawal or that are psychotropic drugs. Gabapentin, Lyrica, which I think is also pregabalin, and then Phenibut, which I don't even think you need a prescription for, but it is a GABA analog too. And a number of videos ago, I did talk about these at some length. The structures are, all 3 of those have part of their structures very, very similar to GABA, but then there's another, there are functional groups that are different. I suspect they're different enough that they don't actually bind like to the GABA receptors. That does not happen. It's questionable for Phenibut, but it appears as though they do not happen. So I don't think gabapentin, being on it, I don't think actually affects withdrawal. I don't think to the point where gabapentin is actually the problem that's inhibiting healing. I don't think that's true at all. I think, honestly, for a lot of people, it's the opposite. You start getting rid of any other psychotropic drug while you're in withdrawal. And what I have seen, what I have observed is it makes things a whole lot worse. It revs up symptoms. I don't know that it sets you back so much, but it revs up symptoms. Your brain is trying to stabilize at a set point, and if you keep taking things away that are in your brain, it has to like restabilize. You've changed the conditions then in your brain. So I have known people who have healed. They were still on a variety of psychotropic drugs, not just gabapentin. I healed while on Remeron. That's an antidepressant. I tried coming off twice while I was in withdrawal. I couldn't. Once I was through withdrawal, basically, then I came off the Remeron rather simply. So I don't think that gabapentin is inhibiting or interfering with healing. I think it's just something that's there that by and large, people, once they are through the benzo withdrawal, they can come off these other things much more easily. And I think a lot of people who say, well, I can't get off of this and I'm healed, they actually aren't healed yet. We all heal differently and it feels different. Okay, my hormones just can't stay level. Okay, the HPA axis gets way messed up in all of this in withdrawal. It's all over the map, the hormone levels. And I think it's a matter of like you're still in withdrawal. Your brain's trying to figure this all out. It's kind of like rewiring, resetting based on its neuroplasticity, so that until it has actually figured things out and come to a place of healing and stabilization, I think all of these other things, all of the other systems in the body, the organ systems, are affected by this. So until the brain has figured this out, there could be issues with all of the various organ systems of the body, the endocrine system being one of them. I know a lot of people have trouble with their hormone levels in withdrawal, but I suspect they smooth out once the withdrawal is over and the brain has found the solution. The HPA axis gets straightened out and things improve greatly. Yeah, don't lose hope. Keep reaching out for hope, because you're going to get there. Things get better. You're 15 months. That's good. That's good healing time. But it's not unusual to, I mean, it happens. I've mentioned this over and over, that people on other drugs, and I was one of them, you think like, well, it's these other drugs, this is taking so very long. It has to be something. It can't just be withdrawal. But by and large, it is. It's just we all heal differently and at different time frames. Okay, the next email. Hi, Don. Do I remember correctly that you said on a prior video that some people have their worst wave right before they get better? Okay, you do remember correctly. I did say that. And that does happen a great deal. I've seen that a lot. I think Baylissa mentioned that. I've heard her mention that before, and some others too. That it's kind of like darkest before the dawn sometimes. Like you get really nasty waves prior to noticing improvement. That does happen. Not for everybody, but I have seen that happen many, many times. So that it's true. I did mention that. Yes. I guess I'm looking for some hope, being that I'm in a horrible wave. If I remember correctly, just go ahead and lie to me. I'm not lying. Although you don't know that I'm not lying, but I'm not lying. That is true. I have said that. I've read it in the forums. I've read it in the Facebook groups too. Okay, did your wife ever think you would recover? Did she even believe that it was benzo withdrawal? Interesting question. My wife, now that I am well, she says, yes, I believed you would recover. I believed you would get well. Now, during the time that I was sick, I don't know that that was true, because I didn't know. I honestly did not think I would. But my wife is one, even way back in the 90s when all of the poly drugging started. It was hard for her. I mean, I went from like being the big, strong, husband and father to like just being as weak as an infant. It was just horrid. I mean, when all this started back in the 90s, and then when I went through this last withdrawal and got off all this stuff, I was bad. I mean, I was mentally and emotionally, I was really, really bad. She turned to prayer and to meditation and to God and that, almost as, not as avoidance, but like, I was not there for her, like mentally, emotionally. I was just not there. I was gone. I was in another world. I think she did think I would recover. I don't know. I wasn't sure I would either. That's pretty much the truth of it. But I kept hoping I would recover, and I think she hoped I would. But to actually think I would, I don't know. That's a hard one. Did she even believe that this was the benzos? After a while, we had come from the psychiatrist. It was like the next to last. It was one of my very last visits. We were coming home. I had a script for Prozac, I think, so I was looking for the magic pill. And we decided then, I had been on the forums a little bit. We decided, okay, we're going to believe these people in the forums that they're telling the truth, that and the success stories, like it's benzo withdrawal. There's no magic pill. If you wait long enough, time will heal you. And we thought about that. I remember in the car, we were on Interstate 81, and we came to that. Okay, we're not even going to fill the script for the Prozac. We're gonna try to wait this out, in hopes that it was benzo withdrawal, and that was my hope. And through withdrawal, you have this fear, like, well, maybe it's maybe I am like messed up here. That's just my state, my normal state, or maybe it is something else. Maybe I have some kind of disease. So that's kind of like part of the acceptance of this. It's withdrawal. You kind of got to accept that and say, okay, I got to wait it out. I got to reach out for hope. I got to just keep myself alive, survive. Did she even believe that it was benzos? After I was well, after like she saw I was getting better, after I saw I was getting better, it's like, it is the benzos. I'll be darned, these people were right. So that's kind of the answer to that. Did she ever think I would recover? I'm not sure I thought it either. Yeah, that's a hard one. Okay, next email. Hi, Dawn. I'm still tapering and feeling pretty bad, but just keep living somehow. I have a quick question for you. I have lost a ton of muscle and cannot exercise. It's just too painful, and it seems to stir up my symptoms. If my muscles are deteriorating this much, what does that mean for my heart and other organs? I know the heart is the muscle, so I'm worried that's shrinking or falling apart. Any thoughts would be great. Thanks a lot. Take it easy. Okay. I think I had the answer for this, but I wanted to make sure, so I did actually Google it. Okay, there's two kinds of muscles in the body. There's the smooth and the striated. Okay, the smooth is that's for like internal organs, like your viscera. Okay, that's like your heart and different things. The different internal organs have muscles, and it's smooth muscle. Now your skeletal muscle is called striated muscle. That's like your biceps, your triceps, your traps, your deltoids, and your shoulders, your quads, and your legs and stuff. your abdominals, all that's striated muscle. It's like the skeletal muscle. It's like the layered kind of muscle. Let me see. Okay, now the skeletal muscle that has to do with voluntary movement. You make your skeletal muscles move, like your quads, your biceps, your triceps, and so forth. And the smooth muscle is involuntary, like your heart, it beats. Whether you, like, in your brain say, quit beating heart, you can't make it quit beating because it's involuntary. So like smooth muscle works on its own. And it is, I think, physically different, functionally and physically different physiologically. So you can't, because you're losing muscle mass does not mean your heart is shrinking too. That's because they're two different kinds of muscle. So that's the answer to that part of the thing. Okay, let me see. As far as like the muscle mass, the striated muscle, skeletal muscle, that I lost a lot of muscle over 2 years. I have always been one to like have a reasonably good muscle mass and reasonable tone. And I lost, like in the first 6 weeks of my experience, I lost 30 pounds, and I looked skeletal in the hospital and when I came home. Back in the day, in my 20s, when I was in the Air Force and so on, I had friends, we were into like bodybuilding and weightlifting and big time. And back then I learned the muscles, the skeletal muscle cells, you still have the same number. They're all there still, even though like you don't have the mass. It's just they're not as thick as they were because you're not working them and you're not feeding them like big time protein. Those two things together, the protein and the exercise, will make muscles grow, especially if you're lifting weights and stuff and you're increasing the weight over time. You're kind of like ripping the muscles some, and they get bigger and thicker, and you get more mass. So the cells, the number of cells, muscle cells, are still there. It's just they're not thick, so that when you do start exercising again and lifting or whatever it is you do, and you have the protein, I mean the mass will increase again. That's for sure. So that's kind of my take on that. At one time I did know a lot about muscles and that because I was actually into all that weightlifting stuff back in the day. Okay, let me see what I got here. Time-wise, 22.5. Okay. Now this last email is positive. I definitely want to read this one to you. Hey Don, I hope you are doing well. How's the rain in Pennsylvania? I think it stopped finally here. I didn't think it was ever going to stop, but it has. We've gotten probably well over 2 inches or 3 inches of rain here. It's out of control here in New York. I think we are bound to have some nicer weather this week. Well deserved. Okay. I haven't reached out to you in a while, and I just wanted to touch base with you. I was in a window for 4 days this week! Exclamation point. It was awesome! Exclamation point. I had my brain the whole time. 4 exclamation points. Unfortunately, I had a nasty virus as well as other types of physical symptoms of withdrawal, but it didn't matter one bit. All I cared about was having my brain and that sense of optimism that I used to have. It felt so wonderful to be able to smile and really laugh at things. I felt amazing. Physical issues are a walk in the park for me compared to mental ones. I never realized how important our mood truly is on our quality of life. Yesterday ended my wave, I think she meant window, but I am still hopeful. I also realized a few things. Anxiety seems to be driving most of my mental withdrawal symptoms, like the depression, derealization, depersonalization, and so on. Once that subsides, I feel like myself again. The funny part is that I still had the broken sleep throughout the whole window and managed to still feel great. My sleep seems to be sufficient for me at the moment, so that's encouraging. Before this nice window, I would get a window day every 1 to 3 days. They would never be over long periods of time. Even on my bad days now, like today for example, my anxiety and depression lifts around dinner time. Strenuous exercise can do the trick at times too. The challenging part is to motivate myself to do the exercise in a depressed state. I still push myself every day to do something physical to promote healing. Anyways, I just wanted to update you on my status, as well as thank you for your videos. My husband jokes with me that I have a new best friend, and truly in a way I do. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to help us sufferers. Okay, yeah, the best friend. I know, like when you're going through this, that's how it was for me. Like I felt closer to other people going through it. It's not, and it's not that we're seeking another best friend. It's just like someone who understands what we're going through, and and I understand that. That's for sure. And I know my wife probably felt like, well, gee, Dawn's, I have all of these other friends, and that I communicate with more than I did with her, but they understood what I was going through. But anyway, this is an awesome email. This is yeah, this is great. It has felt so wonderful to be able to smile and really laugh at things. I remember that coming back. I really, like, when I could finally, for months I could not smile. I tried to make myself smile. It was like my face muscles forgot. Yeah, when that comes back, and laughing. I can remember the first time I laughed, it was foreign. It was like, what was that? But I kind of remembered what it was like to laugh, and it did feel amazing. It did. Yeah, physical symptoms for me too. Like, I still had plenty of them after I started getting better. Like, after the emotional, mental stuff lifted, I still had plenty of physical stuff. But it didn't matter because I just felt my mood was so good. Everything was so, just so good. It felt, I was able to laugh and smile and enjoy life again. The physical issues are a walk in the park, she says. Yeah. And that's true of many, many people. Some people have really severe physical symptoms. I've seen it firsthand. Let me see, what else here? Okay, the thing about exercise. For me, it took me a long time till I could exercise, but once, it was almost like once I was well enough to get a grip and I was able to kind of like pull myself out of the whole sum. I could actually, had some strength, I could pull myself out. And I could start doing exercise, and I've always seen that exercise, it makes the endorphins, I think, make your mood better, and it's actually in some ways sort of like an antidepressant. But in the midst of my withdrawal, I couldn't. The only thing I could exercise, only exercise I did was pacing and walking. I could not do the other kind of exercise that would lift my spirits, lift my mood. It took a while till I could do that because I was afraid to exercise, and I just was fatigued. So anyway, this is an awesome email. It really, really is, because healing does happen even after it, after quite some time. You are healing. You're constantly healing every moment that you live on this earth, and you go through like the suffering, and it doesn't feel like healing a lot of times, but you are healing. Your brain is continually seeking to get better. It's trying to find ways, I think, around the injury that has been, the pills have caused, and it takes some time. Some people, the brain kind of like through its neuroplasticity, it does it faster. It gets around faster. It finds like mechanisms and ways to find solutions, and other people, it just, I think it takes time, more time. And I'm certain that's all genetics. That's all. We are all literally wired differently, every single one of us, and we get what we get, like based on our genetics, I think. But yeah, that's an awesome video, because I do remember when things like were clearly getting better. It's like, at first I could hardly believe it, but after a few days, I was like, yeah, I think I actually am getting better. So that's awesome, and I thank you for sending that one in, because that's what we all need to hear. I mean, that's what we need to hear. Those are the things that keep us going. So okay, I'm closing in on 29 minutes here. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to hear this when I go back to listen to it, because the last one, I said pretty much the same thing I said here. Unless you can read lips, you weren't going to hear anything. That's for sure. You weren't going to figure anything out. So anyway, I'll let you go here. Sunday afternoon, the sun is finally coming out after a number of days of rain and cloudiness. So okay, it's the end of the weekend for you. I know sometimes, getting back into the Monday and the whole weekday thing is better when you're in withdrawal, because the weekends they can be really, really hard, as you know, for sure. But anyway, wanted to get that last one in there, because that's a goodie. That's a good one. Anyway, as always, I'm right here, and I will be right here. See you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.